Today is D-Day for President Cyril Ramaphosa to deliver his action plan for the implementation of the Zondo Commission of Inquiry recommendations to Parliament. The President was mandated by a court to do so within 4 months of receiving the report on state capture. While the presidency says it will meet Saturday's deadline, Parliament says it is ready to consider the President's submission. Parliament's legal advisors say they are working through the Zondo Commission report to determine where the legislature has been found wanting and to introduce corrective measures, but it will also have to consider an action plan from the President to implement the recommendations. The National Assembly says it will be up to the President whether he wants to formally table and address Parliament on his implementation plan. Meanwhile, the Office of the President says it's already established a team to closely monitor the implementation of the inquiry's recommendations. Legal expert and analyst advocate Molatelo Mahapa joins us now to talk about the way forward in terms of the action plan. A very good evening to you and thank you so much for speaking to us. Do we know if the President has met the deadline yet?
Not as yet from where I'm sitting, but it's very imperative that, the recommendations or the plan is actually, set out today on the basis that, the report is actually, at all our, minds as South Africans. We want to see action being put forth in terms of way forward, obviously guided by the President and the Parliament.
So just help us understand this, and I know this is more about process, but the mandate of the court to President Ramaphosa to table an action plan, what is it really about? Is it putting a political interpretation of the legal stuff in terms of what is actionable?
Okay, maybe let me just set out this for the benefit of all. You might recall when the report was initially, set out. The first part of the report. There are other state entities that are supposed to be, involved in terms of how to proceed further. But in terms of the, let's say, duration of how long, let's say, some of the action or some of the implementation activities should take place, obviously should come out from the plan that, the President is supposed to put forth. And the discussion, obviously, that would be, tabled before Parliament. So in this regard, the thing is with the Zondo Commission and the report, it's more of a political, it's more of a political sphere, rather than the legal, on the basis that the plan, if let's say the President is not acting accordingly, and the Parliament is not acting accordingly, it becomes difficult to even, force the report because it's not that much binding. That's why the court has actually instructed the President to actually put the plan in place within the prescribed period.
So I understand that it has to do a lot more with the terms of reference and the limitations that the Zondo Commission has. But I'm just trying to understand, as you said, there are many layers of this. Parliament itself says it's already establishing appropriate systems to process and oversee the implementation of the Zondo report. So I'm just trying to understand the distinctions between the 358 recommendations of the Zondo Commission. Then there's this aspect of the president delivering an action plan. Then there's Parliament. There's also, I believe, the Joint Ethics Committee. So how do they all work together?
Okay. And I think other entities like your NPA as well and SIU, it's important that we reflect them as well.
And the Public Protector as well.
Yes. Okay, let me explain it this way to make it easier. For instance, there are recommendations that would insinuate in the report that there are some, let me give an example, criminal offenses or, potential criminal offenses that could have occurred, right? If there are such kind of, insinuations within the report. For instance, the SIU, which is the Special Investigating Unit, by right, it's supposed to then, take responsibility of investigating further, those potential offenses. And if indeed there's a prima facie case, then, the NPA will then now be involved and consider whether, definitely they suspect those offenses or indeed there's some prima facie case to actually prosecute. Because the law as well gives the NPA the discretion to decide whether to prosecute or not. So, for instance, because of that kind of the powers, the kind of powers that are given to the NPA, for instance, let's say the NPA does not feel or does not see the need to prosecute, the president cannot force the NPA to do so, you see. So that's why it's imperative for every organ to execute the way it's supposed to. And if, for instance, now the president has put the implementation plan in place and the parliament as well, in terms of the deadlines, let's say they are saying, for instance, let these matters be investigated, let's say, within a period of 2 years. I'm just giving an example. There should be those parameters, even though, yes, we know that it might be difficult depending on what is involved, but there should be, activity plan with cut-off dates, with as well, to say if let's say the recommendations are not implemented, then what should happen? So it's important to have that plan in place so that, all the relevant stakeholders should be able to action what is expected from them and within, this prescribed period of time.
All right, thank you so much.
There should be some level of accountability.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us, Advocate Molatelo Mahapa. Just on that action plan that President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to hand over to Parliament today. Today is D-Day. He's also indicated that he will also mention or make recommendations on those recommendations that should be prioritized, rather. Right, let's leave it there for now. We are back again with more news in just a moment. Do stay with us.